Have you ever noticed that you go through something and it's trauma? Okay, let's just say point blank, it's trauma. It could be trauma that maybe you caused yourself, maybe you didn't cause, maybe you were just a part of it. It had nothing to do with you, but you were a part of it. Today, we're going to talk about post trauma growth because I think we sell ourselves short and we overlook that a lot. We get stuck in what happened to us. We get stuck in trying to figure out the why. But then as we're there and we move forward, we kind of forget about how much we've grown, or we forget about how to grow. And then we think that if we're growing, it's kind of like saying that what happened to us didn't happen. You know what I mean? But really, that's not what we're saying at all. All right. So I'm going to approach this in the area of the tummy tuck that I had. Okay, so when I went into this, I didn't know. I really didn't know how in depth it would be, how big of a surgery it was. Okay, how much it would not only impact my body, but it would impact my mind, my thoughts, the way that I once thought I could do things, and I could bounce back quicker than what I actually could, because here I am, like 5.5 months later, and things still hit me. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I need to talk about it because I don't know anyone else who's gone through it. So the only way I know how to deal with things is talk about them. There's times where I just feel like I'm invisible, like I'm not seen. Not like in a bad way or not anything like that. Let me see. Like what I'm experiencing my body go through, I don't know if it's normal or not. I don't know if the feelings I'm supposed to have, or let me rephrase that. I don't know if the feelings I'm having are like different sensations in my body, like maybe they're nerves or whatever. I don't know if I'm supposed to be feeling those. I feel more tired sometimes than I typically used to be. I feel more drained. So there's a part of me that wonders, am I having a hard time with this? Am I expecting to feel a way that I don't feel? I don't know. But the thing that I think I'm doing, or that I know I'm doing, is that I'm growing through this. So to me, this is like post-traumatic growth. All right. Because every trauma I've ever been through, I grow through it. So this is no different than that. So it's like I'm bouncing forward with a new perspective, like a deeper meaning and like a renewed sense of myself. I don't even remember when I look in the mirror. Like, I don't remember what it was like seeing the old me in the mirror, you know? And I don't know. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Does that mean that I'm growing in a part of it and I'm getting used to it? Or does that mean that part of me forgets who I was? And that may seem like something that isn't important or doesn't matter. But to me, I never want to forget who I was. I never want to forget where I came from, what I've been through. That's why to me the journey is so important. And the process is so important because that part of that journey and that process is what I hang on to. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it keeps me grounded, you know? It keeps me being able to move forward. So I don't know. Just sometimes I think I'm having not a hard time moving on. Not any of that. Maybe it's I put too much pressure on myself, or I think I should be farther than what I am. Or maybe I want to talk to someone about it, but deep down I'm like, are they really gonna get it? No. I feel they're not gonna get it. And maybe I shouldn't feel that way. But I feel they're not gonna understand. And so When I say that I can't do something a certain way to someone else, it may be like, well, what's the big deal? You've been through a lot. But to me, that's not what I'm meaning by it. I just mean like a part of me, I never want to forget who I was, because who I was brought me to who I am. It's kind of like part of me when like the scale went up, and I have a very good relationship with the scale. It doesn't dictate what I do. It doesn't own space in my head. It doesn't do any of that. Like, it's not going to throw me backwards, and I'm still going to get on it every single day, no matter what it says. But when I got on the scale, and the scale went up to a number that I haven't seen in a long time, and for a brief moment, that really messed with me. It really messed with me. And I had to remind myself, I'm in a moment of healing, and this is a process, and it's going to take a while. And I endured trauma. And no, I don't want to look at it like that way. I don't want to look at it like that. Like, I seriously don't. I don't. But it doesn't matter how I want to look at it. So whether I want to face it or not, I have to realize I put my body through trauma. That's just how it is. Doesn't matter if I like it. Doesn't matter if I don't like it. And there's a recovery time. And the recovery time is going to be longer than what I want it to be. So when I saw that number on the scale, it just like hit me, and it hit me hard. Like, it seriously hit me hard. And I reminded myself, let me see how to say this. Right now is not the time of where I'm going to be in a deficit to try and cut. I'm not going to do that. That's not where I'm at, you know? And I have to remind myself of that. But seeing the scale say a certain number, I'd be lying if I said that it didn't bug me, because I was morbidly obese before. So sometimes when I see a number that I didn't think I would ever hit again, that can mess with you. And it messed with me until I put my brain in check and I held my thoughts captive. And I reminded myself of where I'm at and what I'm doing and how far I've come and the journey I was on and the process of the journey and the growth of the journey, and to keep going down that journey. And every time I go to do something, I don't care whether it's to bend over and pick something up, I might feel some kind of different nerves or a different kind of, not necessarily pain, but that might be what it feels like sometimes. Might feel that pain that I haven't felt before, and it throws me for a loop. And I question myself. I'm like, did I do this for the right reasons? Should I have done this? And that's for a split second. And then I go back to, yep, I made the right choice. It's the journey, the process. And that's what I have to go back to. And then there are the times when, I don't know, I get in my head so much about it, because having this done, if you haven't had it done before, you can feel lonely. Like, you can be in a whole room full of people and you just feel lonely. It's like you just may feel like you're not seen. And I think that just has to do with the trauma and the mind part of it. And it's not something that you can avoid feeling. You can't avoid that. And the problem becomes, or where you can develop a problem, is when you have those feelings, if you try to push them to the side and you try to avoid them, that's where it can take you to bad places. So there are those times when I feel that way, where sometimes I just need to be by myself, where I don't need to talk to people. I don't need to be around people. I just need to be by myself for a brief moment, because I need that time to hold those thoughts captive. And I need that time to remind myself of where I'm at, because I'm never going to be as far as I want to be. That's just, complete transparency. I'm never going to be there. Never going to be there. Because I'm always going to think I need to be farther than where I need to be. But then there are some times when I'm like, am I putting enough work in? Am I really doing what I need to be doing? Does it seem like I'm being lazy? Does it seem like I'm not putting forth the effort? You know? And I think trauma in any kind of sense, it does that to us. Like it makes us think those certain ways. That's why we have to put the work in our mind and our mindset. And we have to shift things and we have to know how to shift things. And we have to know how to take those thoughts captive and redo them, because the growth isn't about denying the trauma. It's about allowing it to shape us and become more resilient and purpose driven, and that's the version of us. And then I remind myself, if I can get through this, and I have gotten through this and I've gotten better every single day, then I can get through anything, you know? On another aspect of it, it develops like a deeper relationship because it gives you a stronger sense of empathy, of connection, gratitude. Like gratitude's so important, because whenever I'm having that moment where I think, man, I didn't do this today. Like, how come I couldn't do that? Then I go back and I'm grateful, because I remember when I couldn't even get out of bed, so it has that sense of flipping things. But I guess in my mind, I'm always thinking, well, are people think I'm not putting in the work that I need to be putting in? Could I be doing more? Or is that just how I think? And I think that's just how I think. We are our hardest critics. But I think another thing that the trauma does is it gives us an appreciation for life, because we notice the small joys and the beauty, like the things we used to overlook. I remember the first time I was standing there and I could put my arms up in the air, and that was just like amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I'm like, this is great, totally great. And things that once mattered before, that they just don't feel important anymore. Because what I find is that clarity comes through hardships. We get a more defined picture, a more grasp. It's kind of like where our lens is a little more clear. Think about a trauma you faced. And maybe I've had traumas before, and I've had some I stayed stuck in for a very long time. And they impacted years of my life. I'm talking bitterness, I'm talking angriness, I'm talking hatefulness, I'm talking you name it, like I was there. And I think about that and I'm like, man, I lost years of my life to that. And it took so long to be able to grow from that. And I don't want this to be the same, because I've grown. So think about a time in your life where you've gone through some trauma. And while you were going through it, you probably never thought that there would be an ending to it. You probably never thought you would get past a certain point, that it would just keep going and going and going. And then when you reach the end of it, you're just thankful. Because on the other side of pain is always beauty. And then, not saying that growing through the trauma is canceling out any of the pain that's been endured. Okay, that's not how it is. But you acknowledge that it was hard and that you grew from it. So another aspect of it is that growth, it's not a requirement for healing, but it can be a byproduct when your healing is supported. So at the same time, I don't know what trauma you may have been through, but I wanted you to know that I see you and I understand, and no one trauma trumps another trauma. So you may think that what you've gone through it doesn't compare to what someone else has gone through. So you want to just push it to the side like it's no big deal, But I don't want you to do that, because what you've gone through is a big deal. You've gone through it and you've made it through. And now you're on the other side of it. And while you're growing that you're doing, it doesn't say forget about, that you didn't have any pain and you didn't face anything. No, it's just saying that you're turning all the pain that you had into a purpose. But what you've been through is just as important as what somebody else has been through. So don't ever count yourself out and say that, well, it's not as big as such and such and what they went through. And no, don't do that. Don't do that. No. So I think some part of it is that what I've turned to, and during this trauma, is I've had to hold on to my faith in God. And it's my anchor in all the chaos, no matter what's going on. Like, He's given me one more day to tell my story, one more day to help one more person, one more day to show people that they can overcome things, one more day that I've air in my lungs, one more day that I can do one more thing. So growth, it comes through surrender. Like when we stop fighting the pain and we start asking, what is this teaching us? Like, what is this really teaching us? Can we surrender it? Just surrender it. One of the most powerful ways you can experience the post-traumatic growth is by let's reframe. Let's reframe our story. All right. Let's go from whatever may have happened. We're not going to say, why did this happen to us? Instead, we're going to reframe it to this is kind of like a twist I like to put on it. How can this teach me? How can I use this to help someone else? And that's a choice. Okay. That's a choice. And so every day, that's how I choose to look at it. And that's how you can tell that you're growing through what you've been through. How can you use it? So think about that, because you're always going to go through something. Always. And whatever you go through now, it's going to prepare you for the next thing that you're about to go through. So some of the hurdles that you can face, while you're going through it, is avoiding or just numbing the pain. Sometimes you might want to suppress the emotions, and that's going to delay the healing. And that's what keeps you stuck. And I did that for so long on many different things that I went through. And I don't want you to go through that. Okay. See, many people don't grow because they're trying to avoid the discomfort. They don't want to experience the pain. You do that not realizing that growth requires you to go through it. And how I like to think of it also is that when people say, well, he wouldn't inflict pain on you, or, this and that, or he wouldn't give you more than you can handle, or whatever. Well, you know what? Yeah, look at Job. Look in the Bible at Job. Oh my goodness, all the stuff that Job went through. And he was still faithful. He still didn't get better, and he went through all that. So sometimes you need to go through it, and God's not going to stop the pain. He's not going to stop it, but he's going to be right there with you. And he's going to be right beside you, going through all of it with you. Every single step of the way, every tear, every mad moment, every sad moment, he's right there with you. Because as you go through the pain, then you're growing through it. And that growth is requiring one step more, just one step to keep going. And then another thing I think what we try and do is, well, I know I do, and I know I've done this a million times, is that we think it needs to be a quick process, or it needs to be linear, We're oh, it doesn't need to, once this happens, everything's going to be fine, where you think, why am I not over this yet? I know I felt like that during this time when this happened. Well, not when this happened, because I did it to myself, but during this time, I'm why am I not over this yet? Why can't I do this yet? Why am I still feeling this way? Why do I still let my mind sometimes come in and just take me to a place to where I just feel like I'm not seen? Why do I do that? I know better than that, But then I have to remind myself that this process, this growth process, it's slow, it's messy, and it's non-linear. And sometimes, more than not, it looks like starting over again and again and again and again. And I know I felt that. And I know you've probably felt that too. And you're like, when am I going to quit starting over? Like, I feel like every single time I start to get one step ahead, I get two steps behind. I know you felt that, but it's a process. It is a process. Another thing is that you might start to feel shame over whatever happened. You might start to feel guilty over however you may have handled it, The big part of it, and I think the very big part for me is not having anyone that I can talk to about it. And not, let me rephrase that because there are many people I can talk to about it. Not having anyone who has been down this road that I can talk to about it. I'll phrase it like that, you know? And that's how you can feel alone and you can feel like misunderstood. And though I never wanted to feel like that because I know I'm not alone and I know I'm not misunderstood, but it doesn't stop me from having those feelings sometimes. And when I have those feelings, it takes me back to when my mom passed away and when everyone meant well, but no one could relate. No one I knew could relate because they had their mom. They couldn't relate. So this takes me back to that, and I have to quickly get my thoughts in check. Like I have to get them in check. I think that happens to us more often than not, and we try to sum it all up, and we try to push it to the side and think that we shouldn't feel this way. Like, why are we feeling that way again? And what's going on? And then other times, you might, people think you need to feel like a brighter side of things. Like you're thinking you need to be so positive so soon about things that have happened. And so it's like, look on the bright side, kind of too early. And that stunts the healing because you're looking at the bright side. And if you be fully transparent and honest with yourself, that bright side isn't so bright right now. It's just not. And that's not being a Debbie Downer. That's not being negative. That's just being real. That's just owning where you're at. Like right now, there's the bright side isn't so bright. Yes, you're farther today than you were yesterday. But you don't want to live in a false narrative. You don't want to live in this so kind of everything positive world when really that's not how it is on this one day, you know? And you're going to have moments like that. And it's okay. It's okay. But what you don't do, you don't let that turn into hours and turn into days, turn into weeks, because then that's really going to hold you up from real healing. It just is. You're going to stay stuck in that moment, and that's not good. Because, see, growth begins with the truth. It's totally the truth. And it doesn't mean that the truth isn't going to hurt you. It doesn't mean the truth is going to be something you want to hear. It doesn't mean that the truth doesn't, it's a good way to say it. It doesn't mean the truth is always a box of chocolates. It doesn't mean that. But the growth begins with the truth and not pretending that everything's okay. Because when you pretend everything's okay, there comes a moment where you can't hold that together and everything comes crashing down and it's worse than what you ever thought it would be. So what I want to do is, what has pain taught you that comfort never could? Ask yourself that. Because I've had to ask myself that. I've learned more through pain than I ever have through comfort. Ever. And when you ask yourself that, I bet you're going to also. Now, this is how I tie faith into it. I think that God can redeem even the darkest seasons for the good. All right? Go to Romans 8:28. Begin there. Because I know you may be going through some really dark times. And the trauma that you're facing is absolutely the worst of right now. And that you may be in the darkest of season. But it will get better. It will. Go visit Romans 8:28. Now, some practical steps to get through this. You can journal. I find that personally, that helps me. I get my thoughts out of my head, write on one piece of paper, speak them out like I'm doing now. That helps me. You can go to therapy. Therapy works for you. You can do something with your faith. Just get some movement. Get up, exercise, go to the gym, get a walk in. That helps me also. To me, that's my therapy. I take it all out on the weights. You can find community. There's always someone that can help you. Just talk it out. Talk it out. So I'm going to leave you with this, okay? Because I want to thank you for listening. And thank you for just being there as I go through these things. And because I know you're going through many things also, but maybe you can relate on a certain level. I know you can relate to some kind of trauma because I know you've been through it. And I know you're a survivor. And I know you're growing. And I know your trauma is not going to hold you back from being the person who God has called you to be and from doing what He's called you to do, because He has great plans for you and amazing, amazing things. And the purpose, your purpose, oh my goodness, it's amazing. It's amazing. And just think what you're going through. I know it's painful. Okay, I know it's painful. And I know sometimes you may not even want to get out of bed. It's that painful. But remember that on the other side of that pain, that there's beauty and there's growth and there's a purpose, because you have a purpose and there's a purpose in that. And I know it's hard to hear when you're going through it. I know it's hard to hear. All right. Because I'm speaking to myself with that one. And I have to remind myself of that every single time that I go through something. There is a purpose for this. And I am to learn something from this. And everything is always going to get better. So I just want to leave you with that. And I want to say thank you. And everything is going to get better. You just keep going. Because every day, you're 1% better than you were the day before. So there's also a fear of who you'll become without the pain. See, sometimes we hold on to that because we're afraid of what's going to happen after that. So what this looks like is maybe you're staying stuck in the familiar because it feels safer than starting over. Like subconsciously, you can cling to old identities. You're either a victim, a survivor, the strong one, the broken one, and why can this be so hard for us? It's because growth can feel like a threat to maybe some relationships you're in, routines you have, or even a sense of self. Like seriously. Like, because growth often requires a shedding, like a shedding of the old you. And so that feels like a loss. So then you have a sense of like you lost something. So what helps you during this process? Just visualizing who you want to become, visualizing who you know you're going to become, and just letting that vision pull you forward and just keep going towards that. And then also, like, the main one to me is just trusting that God just isn't healing the wound that happens and what I'm going through. Like, He's rewriting the entire story. He's rewriting your story. He's making your story more beautiful than what you could ever make it. So this is where you got to put the pen down and let Him do His thing. Quit trying to control everything. That's what it is. See, we try to control it all. We got to surrender. And then it all starts coming together, Because a lot of times we're trying to carry the things we're not meant to carry. So give Him back the pen, because He's rewriting your story. So then here's what I want to leave you with on this, okay? Because, man, I find myself asking myself this too. Like, what part of me am I afraid to let go of, even though it's hurting me? So think about that. Think about that. Ask yourself, what part of me am I afraid to let go of, even though it's hurting me? So thank you for listening. Thank you for taking time out. Thank you for showing your support. Just thank you for being you. And know that you are seen, you are heard, You are worthy, my friend, and you are here to do amazing things.